Good morning and welcome to the Committee on Ways and Means. Committee Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Assembly members: Anderson, Backus, Brown May, Dickman, Hafen, Hibbets, Howdegee, Koenig, Mosca, O'Neill, Torres Fawcett, Watts, Yeager, Chair Monroe Moreno.
And I am here. Will you please mark Assembly members Howdegee and Yeager present as they arrive? Thank everyone for joining us. We have a full house here in Carson City and a few down south, and those that are joining us on the phone. We will have public comment at the end of today's meeting. That number is 888-475-4499. Our meeting ID is 82201. 508927, and then please press pound. Members will be utilizing their laptops, so please don't take their inattentiveness that it may appear. They are working from their laptops. I'll remind everyone to silence your electronic devices as we work through today's meeting. We have a number of bills on our agenda for today. If you're here for AB 561 or AB 80, those two will be moved to the end of our agenda for today. And members, we do have a BDR introduction. I'll also remind everyone that oftentimes we hear things in a hearing that we don't agree with, but we will be respectful of each other. If you're not respectful, I have absolutely no problem removing people from the committee room, and that includes committee members. So, yes, we will be nice to each other in this committee. We have a BDR introduction, and I'll remind members that a vote today on this BDR does not mean that you agree with the measure. It just process to get this BDR in the bill process. So we will introduce BDR S1240, which requires the transfer of certain money from the account to stabilize the operation of the state government to the state general fund. With that, I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Vice Chair Backus, a second from Assembly Member Watts. All in favor of the motion? Or actually, any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. One moment. All right, thank you so much for that. And we will open the hearing on our first bill, Assembly Bill 6, which establishes the Fetal Alcohol Syndrome Spectrum Disorder Treatment Assistance Program within the Aging and Disability Services Division of the Department of Health and Human Services. Good morning and welcome to Ways.
Samantha Jaime for the record. Good morning, members of the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to introduce Assembly Bill 6. My name is Samantha Jaime, Health Program Manager with the Autism Treatment Assistance Program, and I'm joined by Deputy Administrator Ricky Robb for the Aging and Disability Services Division. I will walk you through the specific highlights of the bill, and I'm happy to answer any questions from the committee during or after the testimony. Assembly Bill 6 establishes the Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Treatment Assistance Program within the Aging and Disability Services Division of the Department of Health and Human Services. The bill amends NRS 427A to enable Aging and Disability Services to provide and coordinate services for children diagnosed with FASD per the revised language in NRS 432B, ensuring interventions and resources through the age of 13. This framework allows us to identify and train providers in evidence-based practices to build capacity. Medicaid currently covers applied behavior analysis for this population, and we will assess potential budget needs for services beyond Medicaid coverage. During the 2023 legislative session, AB 422 established a pilot program for individuals with FASD, administered by the Autism Treatment Assistance Program. This initiative partnered with the Families Moving Forward program, an evidence-based intervention widely implemented across the country. AB 6 builds upon AB 422 by formalizing the structure necessary for continued support beyond the pilot phase. AB 6 aligns with Families Moving Forward program eligibility, targeting children ages 3 through 13 with FASD who exhibit behavioral challenges. Early intervention during these developmental years maximizes impacts and ensures lasting improvements for children and their families. After age 14, other resources such as vocational rehabilitation become available. Currently, individuals with FASD can apply for services through the regional centers, but must demonstrate substantial limitations to qualify. AB 6 expands support for children and families while optimizing existing departmental resources. In closing, AB 6 is a crucial step forward in building provider capacity and providing structured, evidence-based support for children with FASD and their families, ensuring early intervention where it matters most. We appreciate the committee's time and consideration, and we are happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, I just have one question, and other members may have questions as well. Just want to make sure that can Aging and Disability Services Division implement this program, the Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Program, and establish this through legislation through your existing resources?
Good morning. Ricky Robb, Deputy Administrator for Aging Disability Services, for the record. Currently, our plan is to leverage Medicaid resources that are already available for applied behavioral analysis therapeutic services and work within the structure. We're really looking at building the structure at this point and creating providers and then building that capacity. So based on what our plan to do, yes, we do have the ability to do that at this time.
So at this time, you don't foresee coming to IFC during the next interim and seeking resources?
Ricky Robb, for the record. No, we do not plan on coming during the interim. Our hope would be that we would come to you, to this body, at a future biennium with data to show what the need is and what an actual amount would be that we would need to be able to provide those services directly to those children and families.
Okay, so members, know that next legislative session or future bienniums, there may be a need to put resources to this once we do have the data. Thank you. Members, any other questions? All right. I am not seeing any questions. I thank you. Go ahead and take a step back, and we'll invite anyone to the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 6. Not seeing anyone come to the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas. Broadcast, do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 6?
Testify in support of Assembly Bill 6. Please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for support testimony.
Thank you so much. We will move to opposition. Is there anyone that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 6? Not seeing anyone come to the table here in Carson City or at the table in Las Vegas. Do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 6?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 6, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for opposition.
Thank you. Then we will move to neutral. Is there anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 6? Not seeing anyone here at the table in Carson City or in Las Vegas. We'll go to the phone lines for the last time. Is there anyone joining us on the phone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 6?
Testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 6. Please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you so much. We'll ask the presenters if you have any closing remarks. All right, there's no closing remarks. We will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 6. And we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 49, which revises provisions relating to educational personnel. Good morning and welcome to Ways and Means.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, I'm Dylan Shaver with Pinion Public Affairs, here on behalf of the Washoe County School District to present to you as briefly as I can Assembly Bill 49. This is the Washoe County School District's one bill draft request. They have to go through a public process and so forth to get it to this stage. And the trustees and the superintendent's goal in submitting this was to find small barriers to people becoming educational personnel and just make life a little easier to getting the right people into the classroom, into professional positions, into technical positions, whenever it is possible. So we went through a process to identify what some of those barriers might be. This bill helps clear some of them by allowing us to essentially engage in a provisional hire of certain personnel, as long as they meet all of the criteria, as they seek their licensure process through the Department of Education. The example I like to use here is during the interim, the school district had a pediatric nurse licensed in this state apply to be a school nurse, learned through the application process that required them to go and get additional licensure through the Department of Education. That took a couple of extra months. The district could not put this person productively to work in that time, and they went and found another job. We're trying to find little things like that throughout the law. So this takes that provisional licensure concept, applies it to some pretty high-need areas like school social workers. We stole an idea from Senator Cruz Crawford's bill in the other house to apply it to school counselors. And then the last barrier that we were hoping to be able to clear in this measure is that of the licensure fees for people who want to become teachers. As it stands right now, if you're a student teacher who's licensed as a substitute teacher, you complete your education, you have to reapply to get a full license as a teacher and pay those fees again. We were hoping to be able to eliminate that dual fee structure. Of course, the department relies on this to process applications and to conduct their good work, but given the economic constraints that we're all working under in the 2025 session, we would propose to the committee that language, which would be Section 3 of the bill, be stricken. We believe that resolves the department's fiscal note. With me today is Doug Owen, who is the Chief Human Resources Officer, who can sort of address any technical considerations you may have with the measure or talk any more about the conversations that we have had with the department.
Good morning. If you'd like to expand upon the conversations you've had with the department and if Section 3 were to be stricken from the bill, how that would affect the fiscal note.
Good morning. Doug Owen, Chief HR Officer for the Washoe County School District, for the record. So we've been hand in hand working with the Nevada Department of Education, specifically the licensing division. They use those fees to fund their division, if you will. They indicated that if we were to remove that, it would create several $100,000 fiscal note for them, as they need to still fund the staff that runs the checks. That would include background checks, as well as ensuring the individuals have the proper licensure that they grant. So it has been a very collaborative process, and we understand the reason why we would need to strike that to ensure that they can remain fiscally sound.
Thank you. And if we have someone from NDE that can join them at the table. Good morning. You've been here with us all week. Could you just discuss the current fiscal note as it stands and why that fiscal note was put on, and then discuss the proposed amendment to delete section 3.
Good morning, Amelia Thibault for the record, Thibault. So the fiscal note as it stands, for section 3, we estimate an approximate revenue loss of 400.
Could you do me a favor? Could you move your mic a little? We can.
Is that better?
Yes.
Sorry. So pursuant to section 3, we identified a revenue loss of approximately $410,000 per year, largely due to the cost of background checks. We do further anticipate 410,000 was our conservative estimate. There is the possibility that we would need to go to the interim finance committee for additional fees should the revenue loss be greater than we anticipate. We also have placed in the fiscal note as it stands for sections 1 and 2, one management analyst position who will be responsible for tracking any personnel who have either a provisional license or who have been placed in a position pending their endorsement or licensure with NDE. As it stands, if Section 3 is struck, we do anticipate removing the $410,000 per year. We will no longer have the revenue loss. In particular, we would not be potentially waiving the fee for background checks and fingerprinting. We run that process collaboratively with another state agency. So that does strike a significant amount of our fiscal note. However, based on sections 1 and 2, we do still anticipate the need for additional personnel who would be able to track and also manage within the licensure system those with provisional and pending licenses.
I have 2 questions, and then I know there's other members with questions. You currently have staff that do this work, right? Now to make sure everyone's licensed, and you're tracking those licensures. Right now, you have staff currently doing that function. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
I'm not going to answer this. I'll come back. I'm going to go to Assemblymember Anderson and then Assemblymember Torres Fawcett.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for bringing forward this language. I really like this bill. I'm disappointed to see those Section 3 being removed, or the section that is being referred to being removed. So I guess my question is, don't the student teachers and subs already have to do this background check once? Or already have to pay this fee, and then literally 6 months later, they're being expected to pay it again? And so removing this fee, I don't understand why there's a need for one more person when it feels like there's a redundancy happening in just a few short weeks or short months in some cases. So I understand that there was discussions away from this body to try to remove that. I feel like there's some games being played, so I just need a little bit more clarification on how exactly this redundancy is creating this fiscal note.
Thank you. To clarify, are you asking about the position or the $410,000 in revenue loss?
Both, because
Okay.
they're connected.
Yes. So I can respond as best as I can. Keep in mind that I'm not our director of licensure, who's presently in a COPS meeting, I believe. So to answer that question regarding the revenue loss, that is unfortunately the current system which we're operating in. If we wanted to review that, I'm not certain whether it would be in NRS or within NAC in terms of the actual process that we work through. So to that end, I can say based on the fiscal note that we do know based on the established process in place right now that there would be revenue loss. And I do believe that that is not just a matter of revenue loss for NDE and how we use fees in order to fund certain positions. I do believe a portion of that revenue loss is going to be a matter of us then having to pay for the background checks with Department of Public Safety. So I can say that based on the current process we do have a pretty strong anticipation of that revenue loss. In terms of the position, we have a limited number of positions presently in the agency. And so this does come down very often to a matter of workload and how much one person can do on any given day. We are going to be having a new licensure system that we expect to hopefully be in place by 2027. There's a bill with an appropriation for the cost of that licensure system. That will ultimately be supportive, but our current licensure system does not have the capacity to track those additional provisional licenses. So I believe the position is really rooted in one, a lack of capacity, and a transition in systems that we're currently facing, and managing that work as it evolves over the next 2 years.
Thank you, and thank you for that answer. It is too bad that the person that's been working on this is currently with the Commission on Professional Standards, or COPS, is Education Standards, excuse me, or COPS, as you mentioned earlier. So it feels like, both your answer and then also some of the other information, it feels as if, yet again, the language that is in the bill is being utilized to fund a position that is not necessarily related to the bill. It feels like this vehicle has been created or is being adapted to pay for a position on the ability to track the new possible future licensure. Can you possibly go into that, or is that something that the individual who's currently at COPS would have to go into?
So I would say that any time that we're looking at a potential increase in workload, the addition of a project, the additional caseload.
Could you do me a
right?
favor and state your name for the record? I'm sorry, every time you speak, you have to. I know
I
it's
apologize.
repetitive, but it's great for record keeping.
Amelia Tebow for the record. So anytime that we do look at adding additional caseload, workload, projects, we do have to look at capacity. We do want to be able to effectively implement the bills that are put on the table. We want to be able to do so with fidelity. But we do have a conversation as every bill comes across the table when we're reviewing our fiscal note, whether we are able to actually absorb that work.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the answer. I realize that the process is a little bit cumbersome at times, so thank you for the answer. I have numerous other questions, but thank you, Chair.
Madam Chair, if I may.
ahead.
Dylan Shaver, Pinion Public Affairs for the record. There seems to be a level of disconnect, and I apologize for bringing that to your committee this morning. The bill does not require NDE to grant any manner of provisional licensure. It allows us, or my client, WCSD, to put people to work on a provisional basis pending their licensure process. These employees would have to go through these same background checks and other processes in place at the district level. And the application process, and I'm not seeing anywhere in the bill that would change that on the NDE side. And so I suspect that there was just sort of something lost in the wash there. But there would be no provisional licensure granted under the provisions of this bill that NDE would have to address.
We're going to go to Assemblymember Torres Fawcett.
Thank you. And thank you for that clarification, because that's also not how I understood the bill as well. It seemed to me that it was giving a provisional license, because right now it's existing in Section 2 NRS 391.019, which is under the Commission of, I think, Professional Standards. It's COPS, which is where our licensing director is right now. And then in page 5 of the bill, sub 2, it does say that they would allow for the person to obtain such a license. So I think if that's the desire of the district, we might need some clarification in the bill that just makes it clear that they would be allowed to work. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but as I see it does give some type of license.
Good morning. Thank you for the question. Doug Owen for the record. In the original proposal of this bill, it was just a pilot program for Washoe County School District, if you recall. And therefore, we were doing the tracking. And we would continue to do our tracking of the individuals through our mandated reporting that we already do for individuals with licenses or operating out of field, if you will. And so we would like to continue to do that, where NDE would not have to do that function. And since that time, this has been expanded to the statewide, and I'm not sure the perspective from other districts.
Additionally, forgive me again, Dylan Shaver, for the record, the language I believe you're citing, Assembly Member, is does not hold a license or endorsement as a school counselor, but is enrolled in a program that would allow the person to obtain such a license. That would just be the normal licensure process.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I need some clarification then as well, whether or not NDE believes that would require some type of provisional license, because if it is obtaining a license to work in school counseling provisionally, which I think is the intent. So I definitely understand the intent. I'm just concerned that the language doesn't match that intent, and I do believe it probably has to do with the amendment that was introduced in the committee, so I think we might need some clarification.
Amelia Tebow for the record. I do believe that we were anticipating a form of provisional license. However, to my understanding, because the fiscal note does not include an enhancement for our licensure system as it stands right now, the anticipated task is, if we do, especially opening this statewide and removing it solely from a pilot within Washoe, that if we do still have personnel in classrooms and in schools who are either working in a program toward receiving a degree, or if we have folks working in a classroom who are pending full licensure, we would still want to make sure that we were able to track that that actually goes through. So for example, if someone is working in a classroom pending passage of their license, I believe the bill says that they have up to 1 year that they may employ that person until they receive a license. To that end, we would still be responsible to the effect that we have teachers and other personnel, I apologize, in classrooms and working in schools to make sure that, one, we were tracking those personnel in the length of time in which they were in the position and when they would be receiving that license, and ensuring that that license did in fact go through. And additionally, I believe the discussion about provisions is the same piece, right? We would still need to be tracking those personnel.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think what I would like to see is some type of language that clarifies that it would be the responsibility of the district to do that work, because if they choose to take advantage of this type of program, then it is them who should be using their resources. And, you know, there is a large gap, which is costly to schools as well, when we don't have enough counselors, when we don't have enough school social workers. So the way I see this is this probably has a cost savings for the district as well, as like almost like a grow your own type of program, similar to what we do with ARL. So I think that many of the districts would see a cost benefit to doing this type of program so that they can get more licensed staff into positions, but that there would be that gap period. And so what I would like to see is some type of language that just clarifies that, so that ND doesn't have to take the responsibilities that you mentioned. So if you could help work with Washoe County on that, that would be helpful.
Thank you, Amelia Tebow for the record. We'd be happy to continue working with Washoe to remove the fiscal note.
And if that language, if you two are able to work out that language, if that happens, would the fiscal note then be removed because there would not be an impact to NDE?
Amelia Tebow for the record. I do believe so, Chair.
For the record, again, Dylan Shaver, on behalf of the Washoe County School District. What Chair Torres Fawcett just said was our understanding of the bill. So it's certainly no sacrifice on our part to clarify that language a little bit and turn something around to you in your committee as expeditiously as possible.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing that amended language to clarify what the original intent was of the bill, and then see the revised fiscal note. And then we can have a discussion if this bill moves forward. Members, any other questions? Not seeing any. I will ask you all three, and thank you for coming up, to step back, take a seat, and invite anyone to the table that's here to testify in support of Assembly Bill 49.
Good morning, Chair and Committee. My name is Nicole Flangus, here on behalf of Tom Clark Solutions and the Nevada Association of School Boards, representing all the trustees in all of our 17 counties. We want to thank Washoe County for their great work on this. I really like the amendment from Assemblymember Torres Fawcett, which mentions this permissive kind of nature in which to implement the program. So we'll take that back to our board, but we are in support of the concept of being able to bring more professionals into the classroom through a licensure process while they're working. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name's Mary Przinski, here representing Nevada Association of School Superintendents. We are in support of the bill and look forward to a little bit of amended language to clean up some of it to make it clear to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Trevor Parrish with the Vegas Chamber. We are supportive of this measure and supportive from the fiscal perspective as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else approach to the table here in Carson City and no one at the table in Las Vegas. Let's go to the phone lines. Do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 49?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 49, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for support testimony.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to opposition. If there's anyone that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 49, I invite you to the tables in Carson City and Las Vegas. Not seeing anyone approach the tables, we'll go back to our phone line. Do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 49?
To testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 49, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for opposition.
Thank you so much. We'll move to neutral. If there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 49, I invite you to the table in Carson City and Las Vegas. And not seeing anyone approach, we'll go to the phone lines for the last time and see if there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 49.
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 49, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral testimony.
Thank you so much. We'll ask the presenters of this bill if they have any closing comments. Not seeing any, then we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 49. And we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 66, which revises provisions relating to district courts. Good morning, and welcome to Ways and Means.
Good morning, Chair and members of the Assembly Ways and Means Committee. My name is Douglas Herndon. I'm the Chief Justice of the Nevada Supreme Court. I appreciate greatly the opportunity to appear in front of you today and talk on behalf of our amended AB 66. And I'm grateful to Judiciary Chair Miller for working with us to come up with a reasonable amendment to this bill for the two districts in our state that have the most pressing needs for some assistance. I'm joined today as well by John McCormick, our Assistant Court Administrator, as well as Chief Judge Lewis and Judge Woodbury from the 1st Judicial District, and Maxine Cortez, the Court Administrator for the 1st Judicial District, should the members have any questions for them, but they will also be speaking in favor of the bill. A little bit of history. The 10th Judicial District was formed back in 2011, and since that time it has moved forward with just the one judge, Judge Stockard. And I apologize. He sends his apologies for being unable to be here today. Unfortunately, he's the only show in town from a judge standpoint, so his calendar didn't allow him to be here. But the 1st Judicial District got its second judge, and it's a two-judge district, when I was in high school. And I'm an old man, right? I'm going to be 61 in a couple of weeks. So that's over 40 years ago that district received its second judge, and again, has moved forward since that time. And I think that's important to note because of the very real changes that have occurred in the populations in those two areas, as well as all of the things that we've added to the calendars of district court judges in that time, most particularly the specialty court programs. They are incredibly successful, but when you add a drug court program and a mental health court program and a DUI court program, it creates almost a separate calendar that would be necessary for another judge to hear. Sometimes in the rurals, we have senior judges that will travel around to help hear those calendars. But I just bring it up to kind of accentuate the need because of the way caseloads have developed for these judges to get some assistance. We have 3 judicial districts in the state whose caseloads are exponentially larger than any other district. Most every other district in the state has under 1,000 cases per judge, more in the line of 600 or 700 to 900. Judge Stockard's caseload is almost 1,700 cases. That's in line with the 8th Judicial District Court. Carson City, almost 1,400 cases per judge. The fall off after those three districts is very real. For instance, an example, if you look at the 11th Judicial District, which also has one judge, that's a 690 caseload. So you can kind of understand the disparity with what is happening in Carson City and in the 10th Judicial District with being able to effectively administer their caseloads and achieve efficient, fair, and timely resolution for the citizens of those communities. I'm also incredibly proud to be here on behalf of these districts because for a very long time, as I mentioned earlier, they've done more with less, but they've also done everything right to stand here today before you and ask for some help. And by that I mean they have gone to their governing bodies. In the 1st Judicial District, it's Carson City and Story County. In the 10th, it's Churchill County, to get them on board with their requests, to know that there aren't any impediments to moving forward if you would be so gracious as to grant us the 2 judges. And I can tell you that Carson City is on board, Story County is on board. They both understand the need for judges in those districts, and they're going to work on whatever financial implications are. They already have the space in Carson City for the judge. Churchill County has similarly already committed to the funding of all the staffing needs. They already have the space available for the second judge, and in anticipation of getting another judge, they've already started the process of building a new courthouse, which they expect to break ground on this year. So the counties and Carson City are full on board with the requests that are being made to get this assistance so that there won't be any ripples moving forward with the judges moving into those districts and starting in 2027. In short, there is a very real and pressing need in these districts, and I would ask for your strong consideration to move the bill forward and grant the funding that would allow for these 2 judges. The last thing I'll say is I've tried very hard, and I know Justice Stiglitz did it before me in your last legislative session, to impart to you sincerely my desire for the judiciary to be a good partner and not just come and ask for things, but to work on ways that we can help address fiscal things as well. I know that one of the things that's of concern to the legislature through AGR 8 is the creation of a business court, which admittedly everybody knows would have a pretty substantial financial impact because it would be creating a whole new court system. What we've done is already started the process now at the Supreme Court level of an administrative docket to get all of our stakeholders involved and do what we can to improve our business courts right now with some immediacy to create dedicated business courts, which is the goal of that bill, so that there's judges just handling business court cases in the 8th and the 2nd without any expenditure of money, to create rules as to how, modeling after our water law process, how we can certify and train those judges to be able to handle business court cases, create rules for how those judges would be chosen in those districts and how the cases would be managed moving forward, and the publishing of dispositions in those cases, all the things that we can do. Even if you pass AJR 8, which I understand there may be a desire to do that, we're trying to do something now that can provide you with data moving forward as you decide in the next session whether to continue that AJR, whether you want to choose to go any other route that might be fiscally less cumbersome on the state. So we're trying our best, but we do have a dire need to assist these 2 districts with these 2 judges, and I thank you very much for listening to me today and for your consideration. And I'm happy to answer any questions, obviously.
Good morning, and thank you so much for the presentation. So just want some clarification. In the amended revised bill, Section 1 was deleted by the amendment, correct? Section 1, Section 3, Section 4, Section 5, Section 6, 7, and 8. 8 was not deleted but amended, and Section 9 was deleted. So with all of those deletions from the bill, or the original bill had a number of fiscal notes. So for all of those agencies that had fiscal notes on the original bill, I'd like for them to testify how the amendment affects their fiscal note. And before each agency comes up for that, Assembly Member Bacchus has an additional question. So I have the Department of Parole and Probation that had submitted a fiscal note, and then the administrative offices of the court had 2 fiscal notes, and then a number of the counties, but if the counties are not going to be implemented or affected in, as the bill is amended, if their fiscal notes have been removed, if you know that.
Thank you, Chair. John McCormick for the record, JOHN, MCCORMICK. It is my understanding that with the elimination of all the other judge positions, that those county fiscal notes become moot, for lack of a better term, because they would not have the obligation to provide the staff, housing, all that stuff for the judge. And so then we are just down to, with the way this bill has been amended, the fiscal impact to the counties would be to Carson City / Story County and to Churchill County, as the chief indicated. And you'll have to forgive me, I do not remember the genesis of the P&P note, so hopefully we have somebody here on that.
Okay, I have the administrative fiscal note would be $322,902 for FY27, and then future bienniums would be at $1.2 million, and that's for the salary and benefits of the district court judges. And that will be paid from the general fund, including the, for the general fund. And that stands, that is the correct amount?
Thank you, Chair. John McCormick for the record. Yes, that is the correct amount. That the revised fiscal note provided by AOC, as you referenced, is that salary amount for 6 months of the biennium, and then the second line there, you see the $13,344. That is for mandatory training for these district judges, as required by NRS 3.027 and .028, and then that training amount in future biennia is for the mandatory ethics course that is required of all judges under Administrative Docket 251 from the Supreme Court. So this is the accurate fiscal note.
Okay. I have a fiscal note from Carson City, and if there's someone from Carson City, if they could speak to that, and I have Churchill County. I do not have one from Story County. Do you know how much that one is? I don't see the Story County. You mentioned it, but I don't have it in my file. Good morning.
Good morning, Maxine Cortez, Court Administrator for the First Judicial District Court. It's a pleasure to be here today. So we are ready in 2000. CORTES. So we met with the Board of Supervisors yesterday at their meeting, and we discussed the fiscal note. The court has committed to pay for half of the positions in 2027 through court-restricted funds to assist with the financial impact. I have Cameron Gersh here. I don't know if you want to also talk about that.
No, thank you. I don't want to repeat what will be supportive testimony. Other than that, we've considered this heavily, and we're grateful for the committee and for the Chief Justice for mentioning our own infrastructure and other fiscal concerns in his testimony. But if you have any other further questions, we're happy to assist. We're sorry we don't have our financial officer here today, but I'm happy to follow up if there's anything here we can't answer for you today. Oh, yes. And sorry, Cameron Gresh for the record, Gresh spelled Gresh.
I do want to add Maxine Cortez, CORTES. I do want to add that when I say we're ready, we built the third courtroom in 2015. We did that with the anticipation of a third judge. Didn't quite think it would take about 10, 12 years. But we are ready for this. We paid for that courtroom with grant funds and court-restricted money. We didn't ask the city to pay for that. They were grateful for that. We have a great partnership with Carson City and Story County. In addition, we've had discussions with Story County, and they've been open and very receptive to assist with offsetting some of the costs for the staff. They do that now with some of the positions. And so, again, it's a great partnership that we have with the court, with our county, with our city, and we're really looking forward to having that third judge on staff so we can have greater access to justice.
I'm happy to hear that you've been working with Story and they're willing to assist because they did not submit a fiscal note. So I am going to take that as they aren't going to have a fiscal impact if they did not submit a fiscal note. I'm going to go to Assemblymember Koenig and then Assemblymember Bacchus.
Thank you, Chair. And so it's a little bit scary to think it's been just a little over 2.5 years when I was sitting on the Churchill County. I was a Churchill County commissioner at that point. And this was on our radar, and we discussed it quite a bit. And we were very in favor at that point, and we had started the process of planning and getting ready to build a new courthouse that they're getting ready to break ground on now. And so there'll be space in that new building to accommodate this. And so this is, I mean, I can't speak for Churchill anymore because I've been off for 2.5 years, but at the time that was something that, they were really supporting back, a couple of years ago.
Thank you for that insight. I appreciate it. Assemblymember Bacchus.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And I think the questions were kind of resolved with respect to the parole and probation. I was just a little confused how everyone was sharing staff, but thank you for coming up and explaining that. But I just had a follow-up question, and I know this isn't the policy committee, but Justice Herndon, you said something that was quite interesting, and so my mind went back to the numbers. You indicated that there were 3 counties that our judges on average have over 1,700 cases on the docket, which includes Carson and Churchill. And I think you also dropped in Clark County. And so with our civil, criminal, and family division, 32 plus 26 departments, the average across the board is over 1,700 as well cases. Just out of curiosity. Thanks.
Yes, thank you for the question. Douglas Herndon on behalf of the Supreme Court, Herndon. Clark County remains the highest caseload per judge in the state, 1,689 cases. I think it is a vastly different story, however, when you talk about a district with 58 judges who are going to wax and wane in terms of what's going on at any given time. So they have a very deep bench, no pun intended, about ability to, and thank you again for letting me ref the legislative softball game. Congratulations on your resounding victory over the Senate. It's a very different story in terms of their ability to cover for each other versus nobody being able for Judge Stockard and very little ability for the Carson City for the first when it's just 2 judges. So that increases funding because we then have to provide senior judges, and we would like to avoid doing that as well.
And I figured also the breadth of type of cases that the smaller counties are doing is they'll handle anything from family law, criminal law, civil law, probably even they don't have probably municipal judges or anything else. So they're really covering something as small as like misdemeanor all the way up. So
very true. I apologize for interrupting. Very true. Douglas Herndon for the Supreme Court again. I think Judge Woodbury, if he may have had to leave to go to court. He had to go back to court.
Yeah, you don't need to bring him up.
But he's involved in the large litigation with Switch and the technological park, and that is a very, very complicated case. It's similar to a lot of the large-scale litigation that's occurring in our urban districts as well. In addition to everything you just mentioned, also having a family court caseload, a criminal caseload, et cetera. So yes, there is a lot going on in the smaller districts, and when you increase those caseloads as high as they are now, it makes it very difficult to provide timely justice.
By chance, is there anyone here from parole and probation, DPS parole and probation, that could speak to the fiscal note? All right, well, we will have to. Oh, down south. I'm so sorry. Good morning. I should have looked up. You have a fiscal note that has $116,388 in FY 26-27, and then 432 in future biennium. Could you speak to your fiscal note, and does the amended version of this bill affect that at all? Or is this fiscal note on the amended bill?
Good morning, Chairman Monroe, the members of the Committee on Ways and Means. My name is Shannon Serena, Shannon Serena, and I'm a captain with the Nevada State Department of Public Safety, Division of Parole and Probation. As far as speaking to this, with an increase of judges in each district court, the division will need a corresponding increase in specialists to handle the increased workload. Current staff will not be able to absorb these responsibilities due to the workload and geographical restrictions. For instance, Carson City personnel are already covering courts in Story, Douglas, and Carson counties, while personnel in Fallon are covering courts in Churchill, Lyon, and Mineral County. As far to answer your question of if this is after the amended, that I do not know, and I'd have to get that information back to you.
Thank you, because the original bill was drastically amended, and it may affect your fiscal note. So if you could get that information back to us, we would appreciate that before we could move this bill forward.
Shannon Serena for the record. I will get that for you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Members, any other questions? All right, go ahead.
Maxine Cortez, Court Administrator. I think it's important to mention that the First Judicial District, the judges' caseloads, about 75% are civil and family law, probate matters, about 25% are criminal, which would impact parole and probation.
Thank you so much for that. Not seeing any other questions? Sure. Assemblymember Backus.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And because I was curious, right now, when looking at the parole and probation's fiscal note, it looks like they've limited it to one position for each new judicial seat in the 1st and the 10th. Do they really have that right now? If a judge is only doing 25%, is that, like, in your experience, like, do they already have one assigned to each of the current judges? Or could, like, I'm getting at if we need both positions for each district.
Good morning. Excuse me. Kristen Lewis, District Court Judge here in Carson City for the First Judicial District. The way we structure our calendar with respect to criminal cases, and I would echo what Court Administrator Max Cortez indicated, we have law and motion calendar on Monday in Department 1, Tuesday in Department 2, my department, and then if we had a third judge, it would be on a separate day. We have the same parole and probation officer that comes to each court each separate day. And with our numbers in terms of people and cases that we're handling, they're already where they are. We just need an additional judge to try to handle that caseload. But the days and the times that we would have those structured would be separate because we also have to work with our district attorneys, defense counsel, for everybody to be able to appear and address those cases as well. So I don't envision that there would be that staffing increase or need for a staffing increase, at least right now, because our numbers are what they are in terms of the cases we're addressing.
Thank you so much for that, and welcome, Your Honor, to the legislature.
Thank you for being, it's my pleasure to be here.
Assemblymember Hibbets.
Thank you, Chair. And this might be a better question for the district court judge here. Thank you for being here. So if I understand this, the bill is to increase the number of judges. Does that increase crime somehow? Or caseload overall, more defendants because there's more judges, and create the need for more P&P work?
Thank you for the question again. Kristen Lewis, and I'll spell it Kristin. Last name is Lewis, Luis. And it's my pleasure to be here today. No, and we had this conversation with our Board of Supervisors as well. As I indicated, our numbers are where they are. And we didn't want to have to also add an increase to the public defender's office, the district attorney's office. As I indicated, the bulk of our caseload is not the criminal side of things. It's actually the other types of cases that we address. And if I could speak to that for a moment, In Carson City being the capital, so much of what we do address is different than what other jurisdictions are addressing. Not only are both district court judges general jurisdiction judges, and then we cover Story County as well, and Judge Woodbury just went to go to Story County to cover that law and motion calendar. And again, the same parole and probation officer is there. We do that on Fridays once a month. We'll probably have to start doing it more than once a month because their calendar has grown already. But the different types of cases that we handle, because we're the capital, involve election cases, challenges to the Constitution, priority cases that originate in Carson City. The fact that we have a prison here, that generates more cases based upon disciplinary issues and things that happen. We're also the jurisdiction that takes a lot more of the writs, regardless of whether they were incarcerated from another jurisdiction. Those are things that add to Carson City's caseload that are different and unique from other jurisdictions. And that's where a lot of our time is spent. I would say probably the family law cases, which can include guardianships with respect to minors and older persons, the family law cases where you're dealing with custody and divorce, those types of cases, and emergency motions that come up on those types of cases. That's where we're finding the challenges to find calendar time to address those, especially when there's an emergency. We will have jury trial issues where you've got back-to-back jury trials. And pursuant to Supreme Court rules, we're supposed to try to address our cases within 60 days of a matter being submitted to us. And right now, between the calendar time and the cases that we have, we're not able to meet that like we should. We're not able to address cases involving defendants who are in custody as we should, trying to meet that right to a trial within 60 days. We're not always able to address cases that involve victims who want to have a right to a trial within a timely period as well. And that's just based on calendar time. And that's where a third district judge would be so beneficial to us so that we could have access to that calendar, have the ability to address those issues better. I don't see how that would increase crime or how it's being handled.
Thank you, and I see we have the officer back at the table down south, then we'll come back up north. Thank you.
Yes, Shannon Serena for the record. I was able to get that answer for you. This is, our fiscal impact note is on the amended version. Would like to reiterate this, 70% of the costs are reimbursed for us by the county, but also with the addition of the judges or 2 additional judges, that would increase our need for 2 additional specialists due to the fact we'd be covering more days in court for when the judges need us.
Okay, thank
Madam
you.
Chair, may I?
Go ahead, please.
Doug Herndon on behalf of the Supreme Court. One of the things I wanted to point out, and in deference to parole and probation, even though caseloads wouldn't necessarily grow up to the point made by Assemblymember Hivitz and I believe Assemblymember Backus's question as well, I do understand that there can be well, now we have more calendars. But I think what we've demonstrated in the past in our various judicial districts is some flexibility in working with public defenders, DAs, parole and probation on how we stack those calendars. For instance, if Judge Lewis heard a morning criminal calendar and then Judge number 3, whomever that may be, heard a criminal calendar thereafter on the same day, would that alleviate part of the problem on parole and probation? There's a variety of ways to be flexible on that, and I'm not discounting their fiscal note. I'm just saying that's one of the ways that we can work with them moving forward. And Churchill County knows this as well, to kind of accommodate everybody that needs to be traveling to these jurisdictions to help out.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you for answering all the additional questions that we had. Members, any other questions? All right, not seeing any. Thank you so much for being here with us. I'll ask you to take a step back and we'll invite anyone to the table that's here to testify in support of Assembly Bill 66. Good morning and welcome to Ways.
Cameron Gresh, Carson City Government Affairs Liaison for the record, Gresh spelled G-R-E-S-H. Thank you, Chair Monroe Marino, and to the committee for this chance to testify in support of AB 66 on behalf of the Carson City Board of Supervisors. Thank you also for allowing us a chance to speak during our actual hearing. I'll keep my remarks short. We're supportive of this bill. We're grateful for the extra judge that will enhance our capacity to dispense justice from our court system. We're also particularly grateful to the legislature for recognizing the fiscal and infrastructure preparations we made to accommodate this judge, and also our broader regional role in our assistance to Story County as well as our own county via the First Judicial District. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. You can go ahead.
Good morning, Chair. Michael Hillerby on behalf of the Nevada District Judges Association here in support of the bill. As you've heard, access to justice is critical for our constituents, and that partnership between the state and the local governments in operating and running and staffing the district courts is critical, and we appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alex Tanchek with Silver State Government Relations, here today representing Story County in support of AB 66. Story County has no objections to increasing the First District Judicial Court, which includes Story County and Carson City, from 2 districts to 3 district judges. And we've got an inquiry with the county manager, and we'll provide additional information on finance if that's.
Thank you so much for that, doing that. Not seeing anyone at the table in Las Vegas and not seeing anyone else approach the table here in Carson City, we will go to our phone line. Do we have anyone on the phone that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 66?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 66, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers to testify in support.
Thank you. We will move to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City or Las Vegas that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 66? Not seeing anyone approach the tables, we'll go back to the phone lines. Do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 66?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 66, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for opposition.
Thank you so much. And we will close opposition and move to neutral. Is there anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony for Assembly Bill 66? Good morning and welcome to Ways.
Good morning, Chair Monroe Moreno, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Cadence Matievich, Cadencematijevich, representing Washoe County. Chair, you should have on Nellis a submitted unsolicited fiscal note from Washoe County indicating that our fiscal note on the original bill has been removed. That is also the case for the fiscal note from the Second Judicial District Court. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Monroe Moreno and members of the committee. My name is Jeff Rogan, Jeffrogan, representing Clark County. The same should be true for Clark County. If there is no revised fiscal note, the reprint eliminates any fiscal impact to Clark County. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Not seeing anyone at the table in Las Vegas, we'll go to the phone lines for the last time. Do we have anyone on the phone that would like to provide a neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 66?
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 66, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you so much. We'll ask the sponsors of the bill if they have any closing comments. And he's shaking his head no. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 66. And at the start of the meeting, we thought that our presenter for Assembly Bill 80 would be delayed, but she is here. So we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 80, which establishes provisions relating to soil health. Welcome to Ways.
Thank you so much, Chair, for the flexibility. My name is Assemblymember Selena LaRue Hatch. I represent Assembly District 25 in Northwest Reno, and I am here to present AB 80, which is the Healthy Soils Initiative. I'll allow my co-presenter to introduce himself quickly, and then we will jump right in.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm Jake Tibbetts. I'm the Natural Resource Manager for Eureka County. I'm also here today in my role as a supervisor on the Eureka Conservation District. I want to note for the record that I'm also associated with the Nevada Association of Conservation Districts and serve as a current commissioner on the State Conservation Commission, but I'm not here today on their behalfs. Thanks.
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. So AB 80 is the Nevada Healthy Soils Initiative. It will create an initiative which will help promote regenerative agriculture, which helps us reduce water consumption, improve the healthfulness of our food, reverse climate change, and also boost productivity. But the most important thing for this committee is it will allow us to access millions of dollars in federal funds that we currently do not have access to because we do not have a formal soil health program in Nevada. You will hear today, I think, from Directors Goycochea and Settlemeyer that the fiscal notes for this bill have been removed with the amendment we adopted on the floor. So this shouldn't cost us any money, but will give us access to millions of dollars, which is hopefully a nice thing to hear in this committee for once. With that said, we stand ready for questions.
Well, we like things that don't cost us money, but we really love things that make us money. So, members, any questions? I just have one. Does DCNR believe it would need at least the $250,000 in order to implement the Healthy Soils Initiative as provided in the original appropriation that was in the bill?
Thank you, Chair, for the question. Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. My understanding is with the amendment, they no longer need that appropriation, but I think the director is here or was here and may be able to attest to that.
Phone a friend was sitting right behind you. Good morning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. James Settlemeyer, Director, Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. The amendment creates it so that the initiative will not begin until funds are made available. So once we find funds, i.e. an additional legislative session, or if funds are found from the federal government, then the initiative would begin. Therefore, there is no fiscal note based on the idea that we cannot begin it until we actually find funds.
Thank you for that, and let's hope we find those funds from other sources other than our general fund. That was the only question that I have. Members, do you have any other questions? You answered my second question that I had, so. Not seeing any. Thank you so much. Go ahead and take a step back. And we'll invite anyone to the table that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 80.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Christy Cabrera-Georgeson. I'm the Deputy Director of the Nevada Conservation League. We're here in strong support of AB 80. Healthy soil is very important to all of our ecosystem, plants, animals, you name it, so we urge the committee support. Thank you.
Committee members, for the record, I'm Edwin James, James. I'm the General Manager for the Carson Water Subconservancy District. We work with all our water users in the entire Carson River watershed, and one of the important ones, of course, is agriculture. And having healthy soils is critical for production and also for water quality improvements. We're already currently working on 2 pilot projects in our watershed to try to see how we can promote healthy soils to make it a more advantageous for all the farmers in this watershed to use. Thank you.
Thank you. You can go ahead.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Shelby Beetz, B-I-E-T-Z. I'm here on behalf of the University of Nevada, Reno, and we would just like to urge your support and share our support for this bill as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else approach the table here in Carson City, and no one at the table in Las Vegas, will go to our phone line. Do we have anyone on the phones that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 80?
Press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Laurel Saito. I am the Nevada Water Strategy Director for the Nature Conservancy. The Nature Conservancy supports AB 80 to establish a Healthy Soils Initiative and fund for soil health. Healthy soils cycle and store carbon, improve water security, and play a critical role in helping us both mitigate and adapt to increasingly heat and aridity. Healthy soils are better at retaining water and nutrients, and they help prevent erosion. The ecosystem benefits they provide will result in economic savings for our agricultural producers, ranchers, and others whose livelihoods depend on healthy soils and water, healthy lands and waters. We urge your support for this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
If you have recently joined the call and would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 80, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no additional callers for support.
Thank you so much, and we'll go to opposition. Do we have anyone that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 80? Not seeing anyone come to the table here in Carson City or at the table in Las Vegas. We'll go back to our phone line. Do we have anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of AB 80?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 80, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Kimberly Fergus, Fergus. I am here to express opposition to AB 80. While the intent of establishing the Healthy Soils Initiative under the State Conservation Commission may seem beneficial, I question the necessity and physical prudence of creating a new program and fund under Sections 7 through 9, particularly when AB 5, which sought to maintain the Small Business Advocacy Program under the Lieutenant Governor's Office, was not even granted a hearing. That program, employing 3 staff members who have effectively served our community, was defunded despite the proven fact. AB 80 proposes an entirely new program that would require additional funding for grants and administrative expenses under Sections 8 and 9, with no clear indication of long-term sustainability and measurable outcomes. Meanwhile, the Conservation District programs is already equipped to assist producers, making the initiative duplicative and unnecessary. Section 10's confidentiality provisions also raise concerns about transparency in grant administration, further emphasizing the need for accountability when state funds are involved. If the goal is to support agriculture sustainability, let's focus on enhancing existing programs like the SBA rather than creating new bureaucratic layers. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Next caller.
Chair, we have no additional callers for opposition.
Thank you. Then we will move to the neutral position. If there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 80, I invite you to the table. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Director Goycochea, GOI, COE, CHEA, Nevada Department of Agriculture. We are neutral on this bill, but I would like to thank the sponsor for her ongoing and relentless work in this matter, and I do think that it will be very beneficial as we are able to leverage increasing funds, i.e. NRCS funds in the future. So thank you to the sponsor and thank you to the committee.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman Moreno. James Sotomayor, Director, Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. We greatly appreciate working with the sponsor of the bill to resolve fiscal issues and try to allow this to move forward. We look forward, if funds are ever made available, to furthering this program. Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else come to the table here in Carson City and no one at the table in Las Vegas, we'll go to the phone lines for the last time. Do we have anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 80?
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 80, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral testimony.
Thank you so much. We'll ask the sponsor of the bill, and she's shaking her head for no closing comments. So with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 80. Thank you, members. We have one of our colleagues here in the audience, and I know they're going to have to get back to another committee meeting, so we're going to go a little out of order. And we're going to open the hearing on Assembly Bill 131, which provides an exemption from property taxation for accessory dwelling units rented or leased to certain tenants. And we'll invite Assembly Member Jackson to the table. Good morning.
Good morning. Jovan Jackson for the record. I am presenting AB 131. This bill provides tax exemption for individuals who will rent their ADUs on to Section 8. I really feel that this bill would provide housing for the most needed populations, our veterans, our disabled, and seniors. Addressing the inventory issues with housing. I know taxes from ADUs aren't significant from the county, but I really feel this bill will create a significant income for the county with taxes with the development ADUs, because individuals don't always keep their properties on Section 8 or where they receive vouchers. And I know one of the concerns is how this is going to be tracked. The Housing Authority will track the amount of ADU vouchers that are being received. And I do have Miss Mindy here to help co-present this. So if you see, there's no fiscal impact on the state, but there is something on the county, and I will let Miss Mindy take the rest of the presentation.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you, Assemblymember Jackson. Sorry, I was in the overflow room. For the record, Mindy Elliott, M-E-N-D-Y, E-L-L-I-O-T-T, and here today on behalf of Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority, Nevada Rural Housing Authority, and Reno Housing Authority. And we'd like to thank you for the opportunity to testify this morning on AB 131. We want to thank Assemblymember Jackson for working with us on this piece of legislation. AB 131 offers a practical and fiscally responsible approach to addressing Nevada's housing affordability crisis. We are very enthusiastic about this, almost a pilot program, as AB 131 provides a property tax exemption for accessory dwelling units, also known as ADUs, that are rented under a lease for at least 12 months to tenants receiving federal assistance through the Housing Choice Voucher Section 8 program. The ADU needs to be located on the same parcel as the owner's single-family residence, compliant with local zoning codes, and where applicable, common interest community rules, documented annually through a verification process conducted by the relevant public housing authority, and that is submitted to the county assessor. Nevada Rural Housing Authority in rural counties where affordable housing inventory is extremely limited and large-scale development is often not feasible, AB 131 allows homeowners to participate directly in alleviating housing shortages by adding and leasing ADUs to voucher-holding tenants. RHA in urban areas like Reno, this bill incentivizes broader landlord participation in the Section 8 program, expanding housing choice vouchers and preventing concentration of poverty. It empowers homeowners to contribute to solutions. On the fiscal analysis side, we recognize the committee's interest in understanding the fiscal implications of AB 131 on local government revenue and administrative operations. There is fiscal impact on local jurisdictions. However, we worked very closely with them as the bill was drafted. The fiscal note prepared in response to this bill indicates that counties may experience a modest reduction in property tax revenue from exempted ADUs. However, the scope of eligible properties is limited, only one ADU per parcel, subject to strict eligibility and documentation. Offset by housing stability and service savings, these exemptions will be more than offset by downstream fiscal benefits, fewer emergency shelter needs, lower homelessness related service costs, and certainly improved tenant stability and economic participation. On the administrative side, while assessors will need to verify documentation annually, the process is streamlined through housing authority cooperation, and costs are not anticipated to be substantial. County assessors retain the authority to value the exempt ADU brick and mortar using replacement costs, ensuring consistency in assessments. This program is voluntary. The exemption is voluntary and only applies when the homeowner actively seeks it and provides all required documentation, further limiting broad fiscal exposure. The bill becomes effective on July 1st for rules and regulations. However, the implementation for the program is July 1st, 2026, to allow the local jurisdictions to have time to ramp up, and more importantly, also for the housing authorities to work with the assessors during that time frame to make sure that we have all the policies and procedures in place. In closing, I think that we need all the tools we could get right now. Tools in the toolbox. This is just another opportunity for all of us as there's a lot of discussion about ADUs, and we think that as the housing choice vouchers, because ADUs are normally rather small, we see this really for veterans, senior citizens, and frankly, there's an opportunity here for families to meet other individuals in the community and bring them into their family, and we're hoping that this is a successful program. So with that, I'm open to any questions, and we certainly urge the committee for AD 131. With me is Beth Dunning. She's one of the experts from Nevada Rural Housing Authority, and she's here to provide any technical expertise that you might have as it relates to the questions. And because I know that this is very different. We've looked at this. We looked at this in 2023, and now we think working with the local jurisdictions, we think we have this tweaked appropriately. Thank you.
Jovan Jackson for the record. And just to clarify, the tax exemption is just for the ADU, not for the entire value of the home.
Thank you so much. Was one of the questions that I had. And I know that Clark County had submitted a fiscal note on the bill as introduced, but they could not determine what that amount would be. Washoe County had a fiscal note on the original bill, but as amended, it's now undetermined what that would be. Is that correct?
For the record, Mindy Elliott, Madam Chair, yes. It's underdetermined. We've never had this program before, and that's part of the reason they're not sure what the costs are going to be to the local jurisdictions. However, they are supportive of this concept.
Thank you. And the city of Reno originally had a fiscal note on the original bill, and now their fiscal note shows no impact, fiscal impact on the amendment. But the city of Henderson, the city of Las Vegas, and the city of Sparks, have you been able to talk to the county assessors there to determine if there's, how much revenue loss they may have if this bill is implemented? Have you had an opportunity to speak with any of the county assessors?
For the record, Mindy Elliott, Madam Chair, that's an excellent question. We work through the counties, didn't speak directly to the assessors. We relied on the local representation to provide that context to us as it relates to any potential revenue loss.
Thank you. So my last question before I go to my vice chair. Currently, the properties are being taxed for property tax. This would in no way change the property tax payment on that. This would simply be if they were to add an ADU or have an existing ADU, that would not have an additional tax on top of the current property tax.
For the record, thank you, Madam Chair, for the question. Mindy Elliott, for the record. There is, if the way that the structure is going to work is that if there's an existing ADU or they build an ADU, and only if they choose to accept a housing choice voucher, then at that point, if it's a 900 square foot ADU, not the land, but the ADU brick and mortar, then the assessor would come and would be working with the housing authority, and only the property tax associated with the brick and mortar would be abated. The housing authority has to, and furthermore, the property is leased for a year, and the housing authorities they have to do an inspection. That's why we need a ramp-up time. The housing authority would actually physically go to the property, do the inspection, And on an annual basis, it's the responsibility of the housing authority to provide documentation and verification back to the assessors that the property still qualifies for the abatement. I hope that answers your question, Madam Chair.
Yes, it did. Assemblymember Bacchus.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And I have more of a comment because I think the way that this is being described makes it seem more complicated. And I'm glad that some of our municipalities removed their fiscal note because already under existing NRS 361.082, we provide a property tax exemption for a portion of affordable housing when we're doing multifamily projects. And really at the end of the year, before December, it's just a simple form with supporting documentation that goes to the assessor. And so when I look at this bill, I think it's a great bill. We already have our housing authorities working really hard to make sure that the properties that fall under that meet the mandates that they have to meet. But I'm glad to see that these fiscal notes were removed. I think, yeah, maybe there will be some lost revenue just because of the value of the property. Some may build ADUs, but the existing structures, I mean, we still have other things like caps in place and whatnot. But I just wanted to put that out there because when you're explaining it, it seems like it's like, oh, there's a lot of work to be done. And it's really just a single page that our assessors, they may have to tweak it for this that are using currently under NRS 361.082. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Members, any other questions or comments? Not seeing any. Thank you so much for the presentation. I'll ask you to take a step back and I'll invite to the table anyone that's here to testify in support of Assembly Bill 131. Not seeing anyone approach the table here in Carson City and no one in Las Vegas. We'll go to our phone line. Do we have anyone that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 131?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 131, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for support.
Thank you so much, and we will go to opposition. If there's anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of AB 131, I invite you to the tables here in Carson City and Las Vegas. And not seeing anyone approach either table, we'll go to our phone line again. If there's anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 131.
To testify in support or in opposition to Assembly Bill 131, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for opposition.
Thank you. Then we will move to the neutral. If there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 131, I invite you to the tables here in Carson City and Las Vegas. Good morning again.
Good morning, Chairman Moreno, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Cadence Matijevich, Cadencematijevich, representing Washoe County. Washoe County is neutral on this bill, but I did want to come up and perhaps, if I may, Madam Chair, try to answer some of the questions that were asked, specifically about impacts to counties and to our assessors. I want to express my appreciation to Assemblymember Jackson and to the housing authorities for working with us on this bill to help streamline the processes. You'll see in the language of the bill that there is a lot of documentation that's going to need to be provided to the assessors, and that was intended to help them do their jobs as expeditiously as possible. They will need to go into these properties and look at them because, as you see, it is the replacement cost that's associated specifically with the portion of the property that's being utilized as an ADU. So that could be an attached. It might be a basement apartment. It might be something that's attached. It might be something that's entirely detached. So for clarification, it is the value, the taxable value, the assessed value of the ADU itself, not the underlying land, and not the primary structure. As you heard from Ms. Elliott, the portion of the property that's being used for the ADU has to meet those fair housing standards, the housing choice voucher standards, and so in all likelihood, there probably won't be a lot of these to begin with. And that could apply on an existing ADU. And in that case, where currently the county and any other taxing entity is realizing property tax revenue today, if they were to be granted that exemption, that is where we would see a reduction in revenues. Now, if someone were to build a new ADU, it would come onto the tax roll, but if we had not ever realized that revenue, then we wouldn't have a loss of revenue that doesn't exist today. And Assemblymember Jackson is correct. If at some point in the future, the owner of that property chooses not to use it for this program, then the value of that ADU would come onto the tax rolls and the taxing entities would have the benefit of that. I did work closely with the Washoe County assessor on this, again, to try to make the process as streamlined as possible. We don't believe that they won't necessarily have a loss in fees. They will have increased workload. And really where the revenue impact is to our county general fund. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the clarification on that. We appreciate it. All right, not seeing anyone else at the table here in Carson City or the table in Las Vegas. We'll go to the phone lines for one last time to see if there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on AB 131.
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 131, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral testimony.
Thank you so much. Then we will ask our sponsor if you have any, and he's shaking his head no for no closing comments. So with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 131. And we will go back to the top of our agenda and open the hearing on Assembly Bill, well, let's see. Mr. Watts is stuck with us all day, so we will not do him. And Assemblymember Dickman is stuck with us all day. So who can we give a reprieve to get you out of here? So let's go to Assembly Bill 102. And Assembly Bill 102 revises provisions relating to emergency medical services.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Monroe Moreno, and committee members. My name is Dave Cochran. I'm the president of the Nevada Fire Chiefs Association and the chief of the Reno Fire Department. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. Assembly Bill 102 allows the health district in a county with a population of more than 100,000 and less than 700,000, so Washoe County, to regulate their own EMS system. What this does for Washoe County, being the largest EMS provider collectively outside of Clark County, is to have agency over their own system. As a provider in that system, we know that EMS is the largest part of what we do. Even though we are a fire department, we are heavily regulated by the state in light of the requirements, the EMS requirements we have and provide. The bill is enabling language, it's an enabling bill only. There's no mandate, there's no requirement. It would require a unanimous vote of the health district to establish the regulation, the process, and find the financing as well. The other piece of this bill that I want to point out is that it does lower the age of eligibility for EMT licensure to 16 years of age. I believe there's broad support for that across the state because that opens the door for younger people, obviously, but what we're seeing is programs in high school that can get started, but they can't meet all the requirements to get licensed. We're opening that door to allow a broader spectrum of people to be eligible. And of course, from the fire service and EMS provider perspective, it enhances our recruitment efforts as well. So with that, I am available for any questions.
Well, I'm going to break my own rule, and I know this is the fiscal committee, but I do have a policy question for you. By lowering the age for 16, I know we have a number of not charter school, but the vocational schools where students can go and get EMT training. By lowering this, they would still have to go through the training by any department that would hire them. You wouldn't just go by what they learned in high school, correct?
Absolutely. They would have to go through a certified EMT program, get the regular certification. That is a statewide mandate, by the way. So that would still be under the state, and it would require them to meet all the requirements that exist currently. One other piece I want to add that is it's a little bit disjointed, but There is a specific exemption in the bill for trauma centers. That would stay under state regulation. That's very important to the hospitals. We recognize that. So it's specifically called out that that would stay with the state.
Thank you for that. And I know that DHHS, the Division of Public and Behavioral Health, had a fiscal note. If they could just speak to that fiscal note for a revenue reduction.
I would say on behalf of myself and I
And
would
you
state.
do have a phone friend behind you.
Oh.
That someone's coming to the table.
Janice Hadlock Burnett, for the record, Bureau Chief over EMS under DPBH. And our fiscal note is just in the loss of revenue for the licensure and certification. And per NRS, those fees are currently used to fund our image trend system. That is our system for certifications, licensure, tracking it through the state. And it's also used per NRS for funding for the rules for training.
Okay, thank you for that. Members, any questions for DBPH? And although you would have a loss of revenue, would that be a significant impact on your division?
No, there's no loss of positions or anything that would happen due to that. Like I said, it's mostly the funding for the rules, for their training, as well as the rest. A portion of this is used to fund our image trend, and the rest does come out of general fund.
Madam Chair, if I may add one more comment with respect to the rurals, it's our hope, anticipation that an intended consequence of this would be to allow more state resources to be available to the rural communities because Washoe County would be assuming responsibility for the largest provider.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Not seeing any questions from any of our members. Thank you so much. I'll ask you to take a step back, and we'll invite to the table anyone that is in support of Assembly Bill 102. Good morning and welcome to Ways.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. Nick Ciccone, representing the city of Reno. I do want to say that we support this bill. We think it's good policy. As my fire chief had indicated, this is enabling language. There is no mandate that we take on this responsibility. There's no guarantee that we take on this responsibility. I respectfully disagree with the fiscal impact that the state has put on this bill. There is no guarantee that we will take on that responsibility, as I had said, or we will take that revenue away from the state. Additionally, because or if we were to take on this responsibility, we would also be taking on the workload that the state is currently responsible for. So we support this bill. We think it's good policy, and we appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You can go ahead.
Good morning, Chair. For the record, my name is Joelle Gutman-Dodson with Northern Nevada Public Health. And to keep things short, I will just ditto what Nick Ciccone said, City of Reno. Thank you.
Thank you. You can go ahead.
Good morning, Rich Harvey, R-I-C-H-H-A-R-V-E-Y. I'm with the Nevada Fire Chiefs Association and also the Fire Chief for Central Lyon County Fire Protection District. We support AB 102. AB 102 will increase efficiency and improve delivery of EMS in Northern Nevada. AB 102 creates in Washoe County a health district to manage certifications and licensing of EMS providers, much like currently exists in Clark County. And I would reiterate one thing, because I'll still be under state EMS in my home district, and we look forward to them being able to focus more on us. If Washoe County takes some of the workload off of state EMS's plate, we would look forward to having an improvement in the delivery of service in our rurals. We are rural, and we do support the bill that way too. The last thing I'd say is, Dave touched on it a little bit, we may be fire chiefs, but 80% of what we do is EMS. And that's our car volume. So AB 102 is good for first responders, and it's good for our constituencies. We support AB 102. Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else approach the table. Oh, the table here in Carson City to provide testimony and support. And no one at the table in Las Vegas. We will go to our phone line. If anyone would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 102?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 102, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers in support.
Thank you so much, and we'll move to opposition. Is there anyone that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 102? Not seeing anyone approach the table here in Carson City and no one at the table in Las Vegas. We'll go again to the phone line. Do we have anyone on the phones that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 102?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 102, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers in opposition.
Thank you. Then we will move to the neutral. Is there anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 102? And not seeing anyone approach the table in Carson City or in Las Vegas, we'll go back to the phone line one last time to see if there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 102.
Testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 102, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers to testify in neutral.
Thank you so much. Then we will ask the sponsor. He's shaking his head no for no closing remarks. We will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 102. And thank you for joining us. And we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 115, which authorizes certain state buildings to be used for certain purposes. Good morning and welcome to Ways and Means.
Thank you, Chair Monroe Marino and Vice Chair Backus, and members of the hardest working committee on Ways and Means. I cannot believe your schedule. For the record, I'm Assembly Member Venice Karras, representing Assembly District 10 in fabulous Las Vegas. I will be presenting Assembly Bill 115, which authorizes certain state buildings to be used for certain purposes. Our Capitol grounds offer a welcoming space for Nevadans to appreciate Carson City's historical architecture and outdoor spaces. However, I believe there is more we can do to make the Capitol complex a space that can be used and appreciated by the public. With AB 115, I aim to open the possibility of hosting events at the Capitol building. Chair, with your permission, I will now address the financial aspect of AB 115. First, AB 115 was reviewed by the Department of Tourism and Cultural Affairs and was found to bear no fiscal impact. In addition, AB 115 was submitted for review by the Department of Administration, State Public Works Division. The resulting fiscal note, again, is zero, with revenue covering expenses. In each review, the Governor's Office of Finance Director Tiffany Greenemeyer stated the agency's response appears reasonable. To conclude, because I know your time is valuable and you have so much more on your agenda, I urge your support for AB 115. This bill allows our Capitol building to be utilized for events, which offers the dual benefit of increasing the potential use of this impressive and historic space while also creating a path for additional funds to help support the building. Thank you for your consideration of this important measure. I stand ready for any questions.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the emails updating fiscal notes to zero. And while I love our Capitol building, it's also a very old building. Is there anything in the policy part of the bill that would address liability of using the buildings for public events?
Venice Karras for the record. We did ask all the entities if it would affect having them to insure the building for more and allowances for everything, including ADA. The stairs are a little uneven in their spacing, but there were no concerns as there is an elevator for any ADA concerns. And that the building should actually get used.
Thank you, members. Any questions? Assemblymember Hafen, followed by Assemblymember Hibbets.
Thank you, Chair, and I also echo the Chair's concerns, and you bring up a good point with the stairs, and I know that some of the facilities and bathrooms are not brought up to ADA. Were any of those brought up in conversations, and what the fiscal impact of bringing those up to current code would be?
With the two entities that oversee the building and where these events would be held, they were not concerned, as the building is already open to the public, and so if the building was not available or usable by anyone with ADA concerns, the building would not be open for tours and the like.
Just for clarification, so the conversation of bringing the building up to meet ADA code was not had, that's correct?
Denise Karras, for the record, that is correct.
Thank you.
Assemblymember Hibbets.
Thank you, Chair. This kind of goes along the lines of my colleague. I've been in that elevator, and there's absolutely no possible way that's ADA compliant just because of how tight it is. And I don't think we have anybody here from the governor's capital folks, do we? That maybe can, I see Ms. Greenmeyer, but she's not an ADA expert, I'm sure. That's my concern, along with my colleague, is I've been inside that elevator. There's absolutely no way it can be ADA compliant, because I do believe it's one of the original pieces from the building before ADA existed. So I would just like to see a little more investigation into that, just before we decide that we're going to open it up to everybody to come in, because, you know, you have a cocktail and you're going down those stairs. That's a bad combination. So more of a comment than a question, but thank you, Chair.
Okay, do we have someone from Building and Grounds, since there seems to be concern? Thank you. If you could join. I think it's a great bill. My concern is I've been in that building. I've walked up and down those stairs. I want to make sure that in future biennium, this legislative body isn't presented with a bill or part of the governor's budget, monies that would have to be for retrofitting to that building for this bill.
Good morning. For the record, Kent Choma, Deputy Administrator for Buildings and Grounds. The fiscal note that we included addressed our labor costs to support events, and as was pointed out, that would be offset by income from these events. As far as the building, and correct, it is old, which is its beauty, but it is also old. And the stairs are what the stairs are. They're historic, which is both good and bad. There are, as it pointed out, it's open to the public, so it meets minimum ADA requirements, but it is a single elevator, so there are pros and cons to it. It's a beautiful building.
Assemblymember Torres Fawcett.
Thank you. And I think to address my colleagues' concerns then, sir, would you be able to address, like, when there was an event, if there is an event that was being planned, I imagine then that it would be the responsibility of whomever is planning that event, both the partner, but then also whoever is responsible for the event planning at the Capitol grounds, to ensure that the event layout would meet the needs of whatever type of event. So for example, if we are serving alcohol in the Capitol grounds, I can't imagine that we're going up and down the stairs. I imagine it would likely, in most cases, if you have 100 people, you're restricting it to the bottom floor and then maybe outside or something like that. Would those be considerations that then would be had?
Again, Ken Schoma for the record. We would rely on the event organizer to survey the space and confirm that it is appropriate for their planned activities.
Members, any other questions? Assemblymember Dickman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for being here. Quick question. It's my understanding that agencies currently can use the building for events or whatever. Would this bill cause them to need to lease it and pay a fee?
I don't think the purpose, Venice Karas for the record, I don't think the purpose of this bill is to charge governmental agencies for using their own building. This is basically so that when there's an event, perhaps a small wedding, or even legislative events that could be held there.
Thank you. I understand that, but I'm wondering if the unintended consequence could be. Maybe legal could?
If we have our Ways and Means Committee legal staff on, if you could respond to Assemblymember Dickman's question. And we are checking to see if they are listening to us. And Assemblymember Dickman, we can have legal get back to you offline.
Perfect.
With the answer to that question, okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Not seeing any. Thank you so much. And thank you for the phone a friend for coming up to help with this. We'll move to testimony and open up support for Assembly Bill 115. If there's anyone that would like to testify in support, I invite you to the table. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Trevor Parrish with the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber is in support of this policy and support it from the fiscal perspective as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else approach the table here in Carson City and no one at the table in Las Vegas. We'll move to our phone line. Do we have anyone on the phone that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 115?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 115, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers to testify in support.
Thank you so much, and we'll move to opposition. If there's anyone here that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 115, I invite you to the tables. And not seeing anyone approach the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas, we'll go back to the phone line to see if there's anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 115.
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 115, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for opposition.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to neutral. If there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 115, I invite you to the table here and the one in Las Vegas. And not seeing anyone approach, we'll go back to the phone lines for one last time to see if there's anyone that would like to provide testimony in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 115.
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 115, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you so much. We'll ask the sponsor, who is shaking her head, for no closing remarks. So we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 115, and we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 559. Assembly Bill 559 makes a supplemental appropriations to the Office of the Extradition Coordinator within the Office of the Attorney General for an unanticipated shortfall related to extradition costs. Good morning and welcome to Ways and Means.
All right. Good morning, Assembly Ways and Means Committee. For the record, Teresa Benitez Thompson, Chief of Staff to Attorney General Ford. Thank you so much for hearing Assembly Bill 559. There is a conceptual amendment to Assembly Bill 559 where you're going to see us adjusting the amount of dollar allocations in Section 1. And I'm going to hand it over to our Chief Financial Officer, Jessica Hoban, to walk you through it from there.
Thank you. For the record, Jessica Hoban, Chief Financial Officer for the Office of the Attorney General. As Chief of Staff mentioned, there is a conceptual amendment. I also do want to point out that the $1,518,208 that is listed in the amendment was also referenced in our budget closings on April 21st. And that adjustment is lower than the original request that was included in the governor's recommended budget. We did look at these projections since our budget closings. And 2 weeks ago, we verified that this amount is our final amount for the year. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you for the presentation and the amendment and stating this is the final amount. We appreciate that. Members, any question on the supplemental appropriation? I know we've heard a lot of testimony about extraditions in previous hearings. Right, not seeing any questions. Thank you so much, and thank you for the amendment. And I'll invite to the table anyone that's here to testify in support of Assembly Bill 559. Not seeing anyone approach the table in Carson City or Las Vegas. We'll go to the phone lines. If there's anyone that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 559.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 559, please press star 9 now to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify.
Thank you so much. We'll move to opposition. If there's anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 559. Not seeing anyone approach the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas, we'll go back to the phone line for opposition testimony for Assembly Bill 559.
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 559, please press star 9 now to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify in opposition.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to neutral. If there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 559, I invite you to our two tables in Carson City, Las Vegas, and not seeing anyone approach, we'll go one last time to the phone line.
If you would like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 559, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers for neutral.
Thank you so much. We'll ask the sponsors if they have any closing comments. No closing comments? All right, then we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 559. Thank you for joining us. And with that, we'll open the hearing on Assembly Bill 561, which makes a supplemental appropriation to the Division of Forestry of the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for an unanticipated shortfall related to firefighting costs. Good morning again to you both.
Thank you, Chair. Monroe Moreno, James Sotomayor, Director of Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. Also down in Las Vegas is Casey, the head of Nevada Division of Forestry. This, if you want, we can turn over to her, as this bill simply seeks an amount to pay back the general fund advance that was given to us before of about $18 million. We're adjusting this at the table as we have an additional $2.14 million of bills yet to be paid.
Yes, let's go down south. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Casey, State Forester Fire Warden. I apologize for not being there in person. I'm about to load my daughter's life up into a car and drive back for the summer. So here I am down in Vegas. I would only add, yes, the amount is now at 20,733,824. That adds the additional 2.14 in bills yet to be paid for fire suppression activities. And I would like to add that since October of 2024, when our fire billing system was able to invoice, we, as the division, have invoiced almost 38 million in reimbursements, of which we have received a little over 23 million in revenue. So part of this is reduced for what we actually needed to pay bills by the 17.3 million that came in recently, which we are asking in an expeditious work program next week to be able to move authority in order to expend that on bills we have outstanding for fires. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, you kind of hinted to the question that I had. We do have a hearing scheduled on May 20th to review the work program that seeks to add the 17.4 million in prior year refunds, of which 16 million would be allocated to fire suppression cost and 1.4 million would be allocated to prior year claims. Could you just let us know how the approval of that work program would impact the division's forestry supplemental appropriations request?
Thank you for the question. And again, for the record, Casey. Yeah, when we first looked at the supplemental was closer to 39 million with the amount of bills still owed for NDF to pay for reimbursement. So then we can seek reimbursement for those that are reimbursable. But with the 17.3 million coming in, that allows us the ability to pay those bills without requiring more supplemental. So that is why we went through the expeditious process to try to mobilize that fund, those funds. We are currently out of authority. And so we don't have the ability to utilize those funds to pay bills today, which is why the work program was necessary.
Thank you for that. So that amount will be adjusted on that work program, and I look forward to seeing you on the 20th. Members, any questions? All right. Not seeing any. Thank you both so much, and be careful on the drive, Mom, as you bring your baby home. We'll move to testimony. Is there anyone here that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 561? Not seeing anyone approach the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas. We'll go to the phone line. Do we have anyone that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 561?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 561, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers in support.
Thank you so much. We will move to opposition. If there's anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 561, I invite you to the table. And not seeing anyone approach the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas, we'll go again to the phone line.
If you would like to testify in opposition to AB 561, please press star 9 now to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers in opposition.
Thank you so much, and we'll go to neutral. If there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 561, I invite you to the table. And not seeing anyone approach the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas, we'll go back to the phone line one last time.
If you would like to testify in neutral for AB 561, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers for neutral.
Thank you so much. With that, we'll ask that the sponsors are shaking their head, no closing comments, so we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 561. And we will open the hearing for Assembly Bill 569, which makes an appropriation to the Department of Veteran Services for certain vehicles and equipment. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Committee. Joe Thiele, for the record. T as in Tom, H-E-I-L-E, the Executive Officer for the Department of Veteran Services. The bill before you is basically the one-shots that were presented in the budget closing. There's no changes to any of the amounts or anything that were previously given, and we seek your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice and simple. Members, as the presenter indicated, these were discussed and included in the one-shots. Does anyone have any questions? It would be for the Southern Nevada Memorial Cemetery, the Northern Nevada Memorial Cemetery, the Department Administration. Seeing no questions from the committee, thank you so much. This is a review of information that we've had before this one-time appropriation, and we'll ask you to step back. We'll invite to the table anyone that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 569. Not seeing anyone approach the table here in Carson City, and no one in Las Vegas. We'll go to the phone lines. Do we have anyone that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 569?
To provide testimony in support of AB 569, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers in support.
Thank you so much. Do we have anyone that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 569?
If you would like to testify in opposition to AB 569, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers for opposition.
Thank you so much. We'll move to neutral. Is there anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 569? Not seeing any here in Carson City, not seeing any in Las Vegas. We'll go to the phone line one last time.
If you would like to testify in neutral for AB 569, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers for neutral.
Thank you so much. And I'm assuming no closing comments? All right, then we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 569. Thank you for being with us today. With that, we will move on to the next bill and open the hearing on Assembly Bill 581, which makes a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Corrections for an unanticipated shortfall related to operating, travel, information services, maintenance, utilities, and inmate-driven expenses. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Tiffany Greenmeyer, Director for the Governor's Finance Office, and here with me is Jason Geisler from NDOC, and we have a conceptual amendment to introduce, and I will have Mr. Geisler walk us through it.
Good morning.
Good morning, committee. Jason Giesler, Chief Financial Officer for the Nevada Department of Corrections, here to present a conceptual amendment to Assembly Bill 581. Section 1, there is hereby appropriated from the State General Fund to the Department of Corrections, Northern Nevada Correctional Center, the sum of $2,929,232 for an unanticipated shortfall related to personnel services and utilities. This appropriation is supplemental to that made by Section 20 of Chapter 209 Statutes of Nevada 2023 at page 1241. Section 2, there is hereby appropriated from the State General Fund to the Department of Corrections Stewart's Conservation Camp in the sum of $261,455 for an unanticipated shortfall related to personnel services, utilities, and inmate-driven expenses. Section 3, there is hereby appropriated from the State General Fund to the Department of Correction Pioche Conservation Camp in the sum of $250,794 for an unanticipated shortfall related to personnel services, utilities, and inmate-driven expenditures. Section 4, there is hereby appropriated from the State General Fund to the Department of Corrections, Northern Nevada Transitional Housing in the sum of $222,749 for an unanticipated shortfall related to personnel services, utilities, and inmate-driven expenses. Section 5, there is hereby appropriated from the State General Fund to the Department of Corrections, 3 Lakes Valley Conservation Camp, the sum of $876,707 for an unanticipated shortfall related to personnel services, utilities, and inmate-driven expenses. Section 6, there is hereby appropriated from the State General Fund to the Department of Corrections Southern Desert Correctional Center in the sum of $5,133,305 for an unanticipated shortfall related to personnel services, utilities, and inmate-driven expenses. Section 7, there is hereby appropriated to the State General Fund to the Department of Correction Gene Conservation Camp in the sum of $213,574 for an unanticipated shortfall related to personnel services and utilities expenditures. Section 8, there is hereby appropriated from the State General Fund to the Department of Corrections Ely State Prison in the sum of $3,896,945 for an unanticipated shortfall related to personnel services, utilities, and inmate-driven expenses. Section 9, there is hereby appropriated from the State General Fund to the Department of Corrections Carlin Conservation Camp in the sum of $53,139 for an unanticipated shortfall related to personnel services, maintenance contracts, utilities, and inmate-driven expenses. Section 10, there is hereby appropriated from the State General Fund to the Department of Corrections Lovelock Correctional Center in the sum of $3,217,122 for an unanticipated shortfall related to personnel services and inmate-driven expenses. Section 11, there is hereby appropriated from the State General Fund to the Department of Corrections Florence McClure Women's Correctional Center in the amount of $3,164,040 for an unanticipated shortfall related to personnel services, utilities, and inmate-driven expenditures. Section 12, there is hereby appropriated from the State General Fund to the Department of Corrections High Desert State Prison in the sum of $15,780,715 for an unanticipated shortfall related to operating, personnel services, utilities, and inmate-driven expenses. Section 13, there is hereby appropriated from the State General Fund to the Department of Corrections Prison Medical Care in the sum of $6,378,786 for an unanticipated shortfall related to personnel services, utilities, and inmate-driven expenditures. Section 14, there is hereby appropriated from the State General Fund to the Department of Corrections Director's Office in the sum of $2,363,002 for an anticipated shortfall related to personnel services, operating, in-state travel, information services, training, and inmate transportation. Section 15 makes this act effective upon passage and approval.
Go ahead.
So this brings us, I'm sorry, Tiffany Greenemeier for the record. This brings this amendment total to $44,477,110. The original bill was $6,636,672. Just for, and we'll stand for any questions.
Could you just repeat those amounts again to make sure we have it correct?
So the original bill was $6,636,672. The amendment changes it to $44,477,110.
Okay, that number is just a little bit lower than what we had calculated. We had it at 741,565. Not sure of why there was a difference. We'll have to go through each one. But I do have a question. I am assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you say personnel services, is that a nice way of saying overtime?
Tiffany Gridmeyer for the record, yes.
And with that, could you just discuss if there's new processes that have been put in place to actively manage the overtime expenditures?
Jason Giesler, Chief Financial Officer for the Department of Corrections. Yes, we have put in place procedures and policies since I believe about March that have gone into effect that have actively reduced our facility overtime. Our facility overtime pay period 19 agency-wide was approximately $2.3 million. Pay period 20, that reduced to $1.8 million. Pay period 21 reduced that to $1.6 million, and pay period 22 reduced that further to $1.5 million. So we have seen a significant reduction into overtime due to the mitigating efforts we've implemented.
And are there efforts being looked at moving forward to how scheduling is done to better schedule? And perhaps the 12-hour shifts aren't ideal because of the overtime, and maybe 10-hour shifts to make overlap a little easier. Is that something that's being looked at, addressed at all?
Jason Giesler for the record, Nevada Department of Corrections. Yes, that is something that we're looking at. We're looking at a wide variety of factors, scheduling and shifts being one of them, opening up of facilities or closing of facilities, right, in terms of that is another factor. How our transportation staff moves for medical transports and other transports, and we anticipate that to make a significant improvement in addition to what was provided by the legislature for the 26-27 biennium.
Members, questions? Well, I do have an additional question. It seems like in every section, because it was just a one-section bill starting out, there's numerous sections, and there are utilities listed in a number of them. Are you looking at ways of how to bring down the utility cost?
Jason Giesler, CFO for the record, Nevada Department of Corrections. We have done pretty much everything that we can. The utilities costs that you see in front of you in the appropriation request for utilities is as a result actually of a reduction in utility usage across facilities at NDOC, but it is elevated due to an increase in utility expenditures by rates and what we're being charged as a facility.
Thank you for that. Not seeing any other questions from members of the committee. I'll ask you to step back, and we will, our staff might reach out to you. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, Tiffany Greenmar for the record. The total amount, I probably miscounted on, because I did by hand, $44,741,565.
That's what
Okay.
we have, yes.
I should have went off of the spreadsheet.
Thank you so much. All right, then I'll ask you to step back, and I'll invite anyone to the table that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 581. Not seeing anyone approach the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas, we'll go to our phone line to see if anyone would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 581.
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 581, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers for support.
Thank you so much. We'll move to opposition. Is there anyone that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 581? Not seeing anyone approach the table here in Carson City and no one at the table in Las Vegas, we'll go to our phone line.
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 581, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers for opposition.
Thank you so much. Then we will go to the neutral position. If there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 581, I invite you to the tables. And not seeing anyone approach the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas, we'll go to the phone lines for one last time to see if there's anyone joining us that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly 581.
To provide testimony in neutral for Assembly Bill 581, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers for neutral.
Thank you so much. We will ask the bill presenters, and they're shaking their head no for no closing remarks. Then we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 581. And looking at the clock, members, we are going to do one more bill. It's going to be Assembly Bill 586. We are going to go into recess, go to caucus, have floor, then we will be back for the remaining items on our agenda. So with that, we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 586, which makes supplemental appropriations to the Aging and Disability Services Division of the Department of Health and Human Services for an unanticipated shortfall related to costs associated with certain provider payments. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Ellen Criselius, Deputy Administrator at Aging and Disability Services, and with me is Deputy Administrator Jessica Adams. As you said, this bill provides supplemental appropriations due to a shortfall in funding for our provider payments for services provided to older persons, individuals with physical disabilities, and individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And the numbers in the bill are unchanged from what were discussed in our budget closing. So we are happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you so much for the presentations, and members, as stated in the presentation, we have gone over these numbers in our budget closings. Does anyone have any questions? Assemblymember Brown May.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. I just want to go on record with a disclosure. For the purpose of Assembly Standing Rule 23, I conferred with our legal counsel yesterday, and I'd like to disclose that my employer is Opportunity Village. They are a jobs and day training provider that contracts to provide these services for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities here in the state of Nevada through the Division of Aging and Disability Services. It's not clear if my organization will receive funding through this measure, but after conferring with legal counsel and out of an abundance of caution, I just want to make sure that this information is disclosed on the record and that I will abstain from any further discussion with regard to this measure, as well as abstain from voting on AB 586 should it make it to the floor. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much for the disclosure. Members, any other questions? All right, not seeing any. Thank you so much. We'll invite to the table anyone who would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 586.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Przinski, here representing State of Nevada Association of Providers. And first of all, Madam Chair, we'd like to thank you for hearing this bill this morning. And we hope that all of the committee members can support this. We support our providers, support the all the services for our most vulnerable citizens, the intellectually disabled. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Not seeing anyone at the table in Las Vegas, we will go to our phone lines. Is there anyone that would like to provide support testimony on Assembly Bill 586?
If you would like to testify in support for Assembly Bill 586, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers for support testimony.
Thank you so much. We'll move to opposition. Is there anyone that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 586? Not seeing anyone approach the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas, we'll go to the phone lines again.
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 586, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers for opposition.
Thank you so much. So we will move to neutral. If there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 586, I invite you to the tables. And not seeing anyone approach the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas for neutral testimony, we'll go to our phone lines one last time for neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 586.
If If you would like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 586, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. Any closing remarks? All right, then we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 586. And members, we will be hearing Assembly Bill 85, Assembly Bill 92, and Assembly Bill 93 when we come back from 4. So we will stand at recess. And I will let you know now, if you need to review any of the supplemental bills, go ahead and do that while we're on recess, because it's my intention to work session those bills today when we come back. All right? So, correct. Just the supplementals. So we will stand in recess.